Okay, before I start, I do want to show you guys something. So this is my Stranger Things shrine that has accumulated over the years. I have all my Funko Pops, all my figurines. So I just showed you that because I wanted to prove to you that I am a fan of this show. So even though I am critiquing it, I do love this show. I've been watching it since 2016 when everything started. I'm also a kind of film major, so I just like kind of know some stuff about this. Like I'm kind of professional. Like, I mean, I hate to say it. You are entitled to your opinion, as am I. So if you disagree, that's just your opinion. Don't get upset, okay? It's been a long time since I've made a Stranger Things video. The last time I made a video talking about it, I was 15 years old. More Dustin and Steve scenes as well. Steven needs to just be the ultimate mom of the group. I'm obviously a bit older now. I kind of know a little bit more of what I'm talking about. I'm here to talk about the things that I did not like from Volume 2 and the things I did like, but mostly the things I did not like because that list is a lot longer.
Chrissy, wake up! Hello? Time to wake up, can you hear me? Wake up, Chrissy! I don't like this, Chrissy, wake up!
I have my notes app pulled up so that I can keep myself on track. The very first thing I want to talk about, which is what kind of inspired this video, my least favorite thing about Volume 2. In the 9th episode, it is revealed that Vecna was the one that created the Mind Flayer. He created the Mind Flayer that existed in season 2, season 3. It was all along just him. And I hated that. I literally hated that. The idea of this like huge entity that existed all on its own and its only desire was just to kill and consume worlds, and it's existed since the beginning of time. That sounds so dope to me. Like, that is a genius idea, and they just took it and destroyed it. And I've always said that the season 2 Mind Flayer, the most visually scary to me. For them to just be like, oh, by the way, that was just Vecna, he just made that. I'm kind of not really a fan of it was blank all along writing in general, unless it's done in a way that's strategic and actually like carries the story forward. But this just felt like lazy retcon writing. It's also just completely destroying the villain potential that the Mind Flayer had, because now, unless they make a new villain in season 5, the only villain they will be facing essentially is Vecna, who's just one man, one Vecna man.
Just one guy, just one Spider-Man.
Henry Creel. I just feel like it was a missed opportunity because I always thought that the Mind Flayer was like such a great villain, especially the season 2 form with the Shadow, and then for that to just secretly have been puppeteered and controlled by Vecna the whole time, it just felt like it was demeaning such great potential of the Mind Flayer. So that was like my least favorite part of Volume 2. I still hate that. Let's get on to literally the rest of this list. Oh my god. Now, I understand that Max needed to die because of the 4 portals, the 4 gates. The only thing I didn't like about that whole storyline was Elle just suddenly gaining this ability to restart a heart. When did she have that ability? And why can she suddenly do that now? We've always kind of seen in this show that when there's a problem, the easiest solution was just giving Elle this new ability. Oh, she can do this, by the way. Yeah, she can do this. They got a little bit better at that at the end of season 3. And I did like how in season 4, the Hawkins group didn't have Elle or her powers, so they had to get creative. But even at the end of the day, we have Elle who can suddenly just revive Max by restarting her heart. I'm glad that Max is like alive technically and that we will be able to get her back potentially in season 5. But why could she do that, bro? I don't get it. Next, I have Eddie's death writing. I'm not mad that he died necessarily, because if he hadn't, then it would have just lowered the stakes of the finale even more. Like, really, all these people made it out alive. And I also could see Eddie's death coming from a mile away because of how predictable the writing is. You make a new character, a character that's new to the season, make them extremely lovable, fan favorite, and then you kill them off. Happened with Alexei, happened with Bob, and now we have Eddie. The thing I did not like about Eddie's death was the way it was written. It just made it seem very unnecessary. He could have saved himself. He could have ran multiple times and he didn't. And I understand that the way they were trying to portray it was him like dealing with his guilt of leaving Chrissy behind and being a coward and running away. What he did, he said he wanted to buy time. His death didn't really contribute to anything. His whole like buying time thing, if he hadn't done that, I don't think it would have made a difference with the bats. Like I don't think the bats would have been able to get to Robin, Nancy, and Steve. I think everything would have been fine. It would have been different if like Dustin was in a situation where he was like about to get attacked and Eddie sacrificed himself or just something like that to like give his death more meaning, but he just kind of walked into death for no real reason. Another thing about how Eddie's motivation for running back to the bats being that he felt like he had been a coward the whole time and that he didn't want to run away this time, essentially. With the situation that they are in, there is a time for being brave, yes, but there's also a time to be smart. What he did was just really reckless and not at all really that helpful, making him make that decision instead of making it something meaningful to add to his character and his story arc. And I don't think Eddie deserved that kind of writing, especially because he's so beloved and special, not just to the fans but to a character, Dustin. So it was just dumb. You could have at least just given his death a bit more meaning if you're gonna write a character death. That doesn't even have to deal with the fact that nobody wanted to address it. The next thing I wrote was the 2-day time jump. Yep.
What?
Rewatching it last night, I was like, okay, this ending, it could have made more sense if we had gotten scenes of like the immediate link up after all the gates opened and it completely connected and destroyed a big part of Hawkins. If we had at least seen the character's reaction to that a little bit where they're like, oh my god, this is like actually happening, then I could have understood that ending. But it went straight from Elle reviving Max to just jumping into, oh, by the way, 2 days later, Steve is giggling and folding clothes the worst way possible. Why did we get a 3-minute scene of them cleaning the cabin? I was like, what are you guys doing just sitting around? The main thing that contributed to the disappointment of that, the way the finale was marketed and talked about by the cast and the crew, Joseph Quinn called it carnage. The other cast members like, you'll be screaming at your TV, you'll be sitting in shock. I was sitting in shock because of the writing. It didn't fit these descriptions. I didn't see carnage. Even though they had 2 days to kind of like recover and adjust, I wasn't feeling like the general panic, oh, the Upside Down is now coming into our world. I was not feeling that at all. It just felt a very stagnant ending to what was such a huge blow up. Also, Dustin's emotional scene was with the uncle. Oh my god. It was just the whole way that his grief was being dealt with in that final scene, in those final scenes. They were doing you dirty. They're probably gonna touch on it a lot more in season 5. I also wrote in the notes, felt so rude to Dustin. I hate you Duffers. So the delegation of time in general, this. When I heard that the episode runtimes were gonna be double than what we've been given in the past seasons, I was excited. It felt like so much potential and it was exciting to know we were gonna get this much screen time of our favorite characters. Turns out that that extremely long runtime, especially in Volume 2, was mostly gonna be delegated to extremely long, drawn-out scenes. They tossed so many monologues at Vecna. You have this extremely tense scene. He's fighting Eleven in the snowball gym. He's trying to go after Max. It's extremely tense. You're on the edge of your seat. And then they launch you into this extremely long monologue where he's talking into Eleven, who's now chained up by these tentacles, and he talks for like 5 minutes and you're like, okay, can we move on? I don't know. I just feel like some of that runtime could have been cut and maybe used for important character arc scenes. Lucas could have gotten a bit more. And I know that this is probably coming off as more just like, oh, Stranger Things fan complains because their favorite characters aren't getting enough screen time or whatever. But I've always said that like Stranger Things' secret weapon is its characters, because when a new season is coming out, you don't see people predominantly talking about the sci-fi plot. Not as much as people are talking about, oh, I wonder what's gonna happen to Steve this season. Wonder what's gonna happen to Dustin or Max. People are focused on this show's characters. They want to see these characters thrive. They want to see them get fully developed arcs. There's hardly a single character that is unlikable unless they're a villain and their name is Billy Hargrove. Although that didn't stop some people. For the Duffers to just miss all these opportunities for good character dynamic scenes and character arcs, it's just a big letdown. And it's also, I also just think the Duffers messed up by creating over 14 main characters. So obviously not everyone's gonna get the arc that they want each season. I also wrote right under the delegation of time, everything feeling strung out, which is how each scene got pulled and stretched out for time. Also, the fight between El and Vecna. I understand that now that he is in his Vecna form, going to the Upside Down probably did make him a lot stronger. But at the same time, my girl could have tussled for a bit longer. She did just get her powers back, and Henry is also a lot stronger now because he turned into Vecna, but I still would have liked a bit of a greater struggle. Too many open questions about what happened with Murray, Enzo, and Yuri and the entire Russia crew. You give me a 2.5-hour finale and you can't just briefly address where the hell Enzo, Yuri, and Murray went. The Russian plotline pacing also did not work with the rest of the storylines, especially in volume 2. You would be watching Max fighting Vecna and trying to run away from him, and then it would just cut to like Hopper walking in a hallway in the prison with a flamethrower, not really doing anything yet. The pacing was just not matching up at all. Even since season 3, I have not been a fan of the Russian plotline at all. Not to mention where they filmed that storyline. That's very disappointing to me, honestly, especially because they turned it into an Airbnb. Oh, the Hopper and Elle reunion was weak. The writing almost made it seem like Elle already knew he was alive. It was just a little underwhelming to me, and I think that was less to do with the acting and a lot more to do with the written dialogue. Mike's monologue, "Be serious," corny. Where did the buzz go from 11? I was obsessed with them in season 1 and 2. It's not that I hated that there was a love confession, it's just why did you write it like that? The whole idea that Mike is the heart of the party, I know everybody already disagrees with that, and we already know who's the heart of the party. I also did not like how his love confession had to be what drove Elle to break out of her grip from those tentacles. Elle and Max's friendship becomes a very huge part of volume 2. Max means a lot to Elle, you really learn that. Why wasn't it until this boy told her all these corny love lines was she able to break out? I feel like her love for Max should have been what got her the strength to break free and save her. My next point, I just wrote Will Byers. His writing was incredibly upsetting. Let's just talk about the fact that Malevolent was written almost from the perspective of Will this season. We see Will getting jealous, we see Will feeling like a third wheel, we see him crying, sobbing against a car window because of his unrequited feelings. Will Byers has been off in the sidelines, not for 1 season now, but 2 seasons. For his storyline this season to be just him telling the story of Malevolent through his perspective, that was so dirty. Especially because we are on the path of Will being canon gay rep for this show. For him to just be like this, I don't want to say plot device, but I want to say plot device for Malevolent this season. Him being the one to encourage Mike to confess his love, even though we know how much that will hurt him and break his heart. I didn't need a huge coming out scene. I didn't need Will's painting to be them kissing under the stars. Will has had so much sadness in this show. I don't want to see one of the only queer characters having to go through this constant pain with no other aspect of his writing about himself or his story or his involvement in this situation, even though he is the only one that is able to feel any sort of connection to Vecna besides obviously 11 and now Max. Erica and Lucas getting hate crimed, why? It was just a little too much. Low stakes, why do all 14 main characters have plot armor when only Dustin and Lucas should have it? It's not that I want to see characters die, but given their circumstances, don't you think more people would have died by now? Robin, Nancy, and Steve, I was looking at them. I was looking at Steve Harrington, okay? Steve's entire thing with the 6 children, I mean all of Stancy really. I wouldn't be totally against a Steve and Nancy plotline if it had been done differently. It came out of nowhere, especially after season 3 was a really great season for Jancy, even with their differences in that beginning over the job at Hawkins Post. She said that herself. She said 6 kids sounds like a nightmare. So I didn't like that writing at all. Callie Gang had a very underwhelming story this season, and volume 2 did not make up for that, just a product of having too many characters and shipping them off to Callie. That's all I really need to say. I do wish that Lucas could have gotten a bit more, you know, an apology scene from his friends for missing his game. That's all I have to say about things I didn't like about Volume 2. Things I did like. This list is shorter. The acting performances with Caleb McLaughlin and Millie Bobby Brown as MVPs. Emmy noms came out today, and guess who was snubbed? Millie has always given such an incredible performance with this show since she was 11 years old, 12 years old, bro. Even though a lot of people are recognizing her for it, I always feel like she could have a bit more. And Caleb's performance in that finale.
Lucas!
Wow. I'm just so glad that we got to see a bit more range from these actors. Gaten with Dustin and his grief, that was such a powerful scene. Such great acting all around. Lumax scenes. Caleb and Sadie have amazing chemistry, can make me giggle like a schoolgirl in a scene where they're not even talking, just writing on notepads. I mean, come on. Lumax is perfect. What more do I need to say? Robin and Vicky, it was cute. Maybe it was a bit misplaced, but it was so cute, and I'm very happy for Robin. Chopper, finally. I like how all the things so far on this list that I did like, besides the acting, has just been about ships. The entire helicopter scene with Elle, Millie, amazing actor as always. Elle and Max not forgiving their abusers, that was special to me. When Brenner is at his deathbed, is trying to get Elle to forgive him and be like, you have to understand why I did all this. She doesn't say anything, she puts his hand down, she says bye. Perfect execution, really. Very glad she did not forgive him. Very glad that Max also did not forgive Billy. Billy, as she says, as Max states, made Max's life a living hell. He was not a good guy. I'm just very glad that it's clear that Max isn't necessarily forgiving Billy. She's just trying to handle her guilt over it while also not saying that he's a good guy and that she forgives him for the way he's treated her in the past. Eddie guitar solo. Joseph Quinn, excellent. Excellent. Great scene. My dad loved it. Jason Death smiley face. Ronance and Elmax. Two important female friendships that people also love to make gay ships that I'm just love. Robin getting on her knees to help Nancy into the, oh my god. The Running Up That Hill Stranger Things remix. Excellent, bro. Although I kind of wonder if they thought about doing that before Volume 1 came out, or if they saw like how well that song Running Up That Hill was doing with fans and that's when they decided to do it. That's a question to be asked. Argyle smile. He was very helpful. He was just that nice bit of light touch to the finale and episode 8 that you kind of needed. And then Jonathan and Will brother bonding. Finally, bro. That is all the stuff I didn't like for Volume 2, and that is all the stuff I did like. Hopefully people agree with me, and hopefully season 5 lives up to some expectations that are running around in my head. That is it for this video. Hope you enjoyed. See you whenever. Bye, guys.
Seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks. Wake up, eat, work, eat, sleep. Months, years, decades.